Okay, welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in New South Wales. As many of you do know, me and Larry and I should say, are both members of the Man United Supporters Club here. As you can see, the logo above us, and you've seen sometimes the logos behind us in terms of scarves and everything. Both of us are members of the Supporters Club, but we're just going to be doing maybe a little bit more with the Supporters Club in terms of this podcast, a little bit closer affiliated type thing, and could open up some opportunities, etc. So if you are in Sydney or New South Wales in general, and you're not part of the Supporters Club, please do sign up. So I think the main positive, not only are we allowed, obviously, big match gatherings at the pub, etc., when we're obviously allowed outside, but you get to line up in these charity matches we have every couple of months alongside the great man Larry himself.
Oh, well, what an honour. Surely, what greater privilege would there be than to be somewhere in person with me? You must miss me, Tom, really.
Well, I've played now maybe 4 or 5 games with Larry, and I have no idea, is he left-footed or right-footed? The guy thinks he's Mason Greenwood.
Hey, doesn't that make me talented? If you don't know which foot I am, that means I'm equally strong on both feet.
No, fair enough. But we've got some comments here. We'll get into, obviously, a member of the Supporters Club and been on the podcast before. Josh, evening, mate, and there's a few more comments which we'll get into in regards to when we start the discussion around Ronaldo, and everyone is here for the Ronaldo discussion, so we might as well get straight into it. There's a lot of sort of factors to take into place in terms of, do we think it'll happen, do we won't think it'll happen, what happens if the unthinkable does happen. But I'll just start with Fabrizio Romano's his tweet, because he came out yesterday with a tweet which sort of, as when he does sort of break big news, it sort of does break Twitter for a little bit. So Fabrizio Romano, it was probably about, 12 hours ago or so, tweeted saying, Cristiano Ronaldo's situation, he wanted to look for potential new options. PSG are currently not interested. Jorge Mendes contacted Manchester City, but Juventus won 25 million euros and Man City have no intention to pay any fee. It's a complicated situation. Juventus is still convinced that Cristiano will stay. So before we get into how we would feel if it happens, just talk about in terms of that tweet and the current news. How do you see this situation playing out? Because it does look like there are rumblings. It does look like he is maybe looking for a way out of Juventus. But then when you weigh up the options outside of Juventus, who is there? There aren't too many clubs, and that is why when City's name is thrown in there, it's a little bit worrying.
It is a little bit worrying, and I think obviously a lot of it hinges on if they get Harry Kane, and I'm sure that Manchester City will push to the final hour of deadline day to get that deal done. I don't think it'll happen, Tom, and I think that's the most important thing. If we're going to talk about a hypothetical universe where Ronaldo does go to Manchester City, does it tarnish his legacy? Of course it doesn't. Your future doesn't erase your history. But in saying that, it will impact how United fans, just that emotional connection you feel to a player. I think all United fans will remember Ronaldo fondly and what he achieved in his time at the club. But I just think going to Manchester City and given how strong they already are, like let me go a step further. Imagine he signs for them and he delivers a Champions League trophy. Like it would put a dagger in the heart of United fans. So I really hope it's not true. And we also have to say, agents will just put feelers out there before they even consult their clients. Generally, that they'll put a feeler out, that they'll then go to the player, hey, I've got an offer from X, Y, and Z. It's worth remembering that Mino Raiola approached Manchester City in Paul Pogba's second season at Manchester United, seeing if they were interested. So I think Jorge Mendes is doing his job as an agent. I don't think it'll happen. And I don't think Ronaldo would entertain it.
Well, that's the thing. We'll come into Ronaldo's point of view in a sec, but Josh has just left a comment here saying, will not ruin his legacy for me, done far too much for United in the past, and the way he left was pretty amicable. Can't actually even see the move happening, but like the meltdown on Twitter anyway. And it just got me thinking, because there's different categories of a move to Manchester City. Obviously, the man behind me, Dennis Law, in terms of, okay, his move to Manchester City was fine. You look at Andy Cole, no issue with that move to Manchester City. But then you have a category where you say Carlos Tevez and his move to Manchester City. And a lot of people are saying, oh, if Ronaldo, he has done this much for United, it's okay. Like, he's a legend at our club. But I just think given the current situation and where City are in this sort of almost trying to take that final step to sort of reach United's level, and obviously that's going to take a while, but a move for Ronaldo does do that, it would tarnish his legacy at United for me. I would think differently of him, and I would put him, I have a feeling, and again, I highly doubt this is going to happen, but I'm just thinking if it were to eventuate, I would put this move in the Carlos Tevez category, just because what he has spoken, how he has spoken about United in the past, for him to almost go back on that love because he knows a United fan wouldn't do that. I think it would be a sign of betrayal. Sounds harsh, but I would put it in that category.
I don't disagree with you. Like I've got a mural of Ronaldo. It's basically like this awesome graphic where it just has words, all these quotes, and even like when he went to Real Madrid, nothing but love for the guy, a pure admiration because he made no secret of playing for Real Madrid was his goal. We knew this when he came from Sporting Lisbon. He always spoke about this positive ambition that he had. Going to Manchester City and supporting the project that is being built on the other side of Manchester, I just think it would really leave a sour taste. And like you said, he speaks of Manchester United as a spiritual home. He's mentioned Sir Alex Ferguson as a fatherly figure. It doesn't erase what he's achieved. It doesn't remove his status as a legend. But in saying that, it would definitely leave a sour taste. And I saw Josh's comment here. If he went to City, the Old Trafford faithful would applaud him. I don't think that would happen at all. I think he'd get booed out of the stadium.
Well, it's interesting because he has been back a few times. He's been back with Madrid. He has been back with Juventus and has got a phenomenal reception. But I'd agree with you, Larry, that, and look, Josh is someone who's been Old Trafford regularly. But yeah, I have a feeling the fans not turn on him, but he wouldn't get a warm reception when City come to town sort of thing. But I disagree with Josh there. I don't think, and yes, there would be a large section of the fan base, and maybe deep down I would still love him, but I just maybe wouldn't publicly show it. But I think you'd get a horrible reception just given the way the relationship is between City and United now and City making that final step. But just before we get into that final step by City, just a few comments here. G'day, George. Thank you for joining us again, George. Ryan as well saying Ronaldo to PSG for me, especially if Mbappe leaves PSG, which that's another sort of domino in this sort of game. If Mbappe does go to Real Madrid, it leaves something there. And I'm sure that's a marketing appeal for PSG. I think it's every club's dream. We've all played FIFA. You all want Messi and Ronaldo in the same team. And if one club can do that, it probably is PSG. Moyes has been on the podcast before. If City are in for him, they offer him the salary he asked for, he's going. Worst things have happened in football. And that is what I think is the worrying thing for me. In terms of George Mendes, yes, players get offered to rival clubs all the time. Look at Paul Pogba. I'm sure Marcus Rashford's agents are going to PSG, to Barcelona, to Juventus and say, look, he's not going, but if he was to go, how much are you going to give him? So technically he's been offered to those clubs. I'm sure that happens. Roy Keane used to be offered to Juventus, to Bayern Munich, etc. Those things happen. So I've got no issue with that. However, with Ronaldo being linked there, Man City are potentially the only ones who can afford him. Okay, you do have to put PSG in that bracket, but let's put a shootout between United and City. If United are offering the wages, City are offering the wages, and PSG are offering the wages, because that's what it'll come down to. The transfer fee is nothing. For 25 million euros, it's nothing. That's a free transfer for Ronaldo. It'll come down to who can pay the wages. And there are only 2 or 3 clubs. And if PSG are sort of breaking the bank for Messi, Manchester City are potentially the only ones who can realistically do it, while United technically can. City are probably the strong favourites. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I think from all reports, Ronaldo's on approximately 900,000 euro per week. So if you're going to put that in pounds, I'm assuming that's around just over the 800,000 mark. That's astronomical wages. If you consider that De Gea's Manchester United's highest paid player on 350, like that's more than double. So I cannot see it happening. United wouldn't even entertain it, to be honest. I think, look, if you ask Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, do you want Cristiano Ronaldo? He'll take him. Absolutely he would, just purely of the class that the player brings. But just it would destroy United's wage structure. I think you're right. But if I'm being honest, we also have to remember with Manchester City, there is still an eye on them from a UEFA perspective. There is still an eye on them from a FIFA perspective. There's been recent reports coming out that the documentation around their appeal with financial fair play is at risk of being leaked. So there is a tension on Manchester City, and I just think, maybe that puts a few too many eyes on them. And is that a reason that might detract them from getting Ronaldo over the line? I think it's either, look, if I was a betting man and you're asking me where's he going to end up this season, I think he stays at Juventus. I think we're too far away for him to really move.
Yeah, no, look, it's hard to argue. I think, a betting man at the moment is staying at Juventus for me. But look, time will tell, and obviously not long. It's only a couple of days of the transfer window left. But just some comments here. Andy, if he goes to City, it completely changes his dynamic with the fans. If you think otherwise, you're delusional. Scott, host of It's a Football Thing, a good Arsenal fan. If he goes to City and wins multiple trophies, it doesn't tarnish his legacy with anyone other than Man United fans. No loyalty in modern football, lads. It's an interesting take. Obviously, someone sort of with no sort of emotional connection to Cristiano Ronaldo saying we do. Josh is having his reply here, which is good. The conversation in the live chat. Not saying it wouldn't change the dynamic, Andy. I'm saying he wouldn't get booed. Didn't happen to Cole, didn't happen to Schmeichel, and won't happen to him. Completely agree. However, it happened to Carlos Tevez, though. It happened to Carlos Tevez, though. So, it's an interesting look. Let's hope we don't get in a situation where we have to experience what will happen. But it would be fascinating to see. And just two more saying, George, I'd rather Ronaldo than a piano player. A little dig at Alexis Sanchez there. I like it, George. And last one for you, Larry. Question from Moyes saying, question for Larry. Would you loan Martial to Juventus to get Ronaldo?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I think even if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, no, even if it doesn't make sense, there's something about romanticism in football. Like there's something about having Ronaldo back. Even if it's too much and it makes no sense, every fan's going to take him back.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. You look at current Martial. Yeah, I'm driving. I'm on the airplane. I'm the pilot. I'll send him to Italy myself.
Well, Ryan just brought up a bad memory there. Tevez back in a United shirt on that Instagram post. It was one of my favourite kits, that blue kit, and that definitely he knew what he was doing there. He definitely stirred the pot with that shirt. But we'll maybe discuss Tevez another day. But just the last bit on Ronaldo. Just want your thoughts on the football inside of things in terms of Manchester City, because we look at a Pep Guardiola team, and whether Harry Kane's even the perfect Pep Guardiola striker, who knows? Time will tell. Or hopefully we don't get to find out, but we'll probably have an answer to that soon. But with Ronaldo, you look at, okay, if he's going to play, he's not going to play on the wing for Manchester City. He'd have to play as a centre forward. But even the way he plays at centre forward, it's not a Pep Guardiola striker. So thinking from a football point of view, whose City runs so well in a football department, it makes no sense signing Cristiano Ronaldo. However, do you think if this situation did arise where they could get him, City are almost going to sort of overthrow Pep and say, no, look, we're going to get Ronaldo? Because the reason I would think City's thinking there is they're never going to be as big as Man United. They could sort of go on to have great success. But if they would get Cristiano Ronaldo, what that would do, I think, not in our eyes, United would still obviously remain a bigger club, no doubt. However, for the new generation of fans, not just the new generation of fans, but it's the way sponsors view football clubs, suddenly sponsors and that next generation of fans might view Manchester City as bigger than Man United if they did sign a Cristiano Ronaldo.
So having this conversation with someone the other day, I think Manchester City, for what they're achieving now, that they're essentially building a blueprint for what they want to be in 50 years' time. And I think the Manchester dynamic is really interesting. If you've been to Manchester, there's a generational thing where a lot of and please, and I know Josh is from Manchester, so he can drop in the comments whether he agrees with me or not. From what I've met plenty of people in Manchester, it seems to be that my great-grandfather supported Manchester United, and it just seems to be a generational thing. And so I think in the heart of Manchester, I think it will predominantly be Manchester United. But what we're going to see with City, if they continue this surge of dominance, that maybe not our generation's Tom, but when we're thinking about our children and their children, if they grow up seeing Manchester City as a successful football team, undoubtedly that they will inevitably become one of the global powerhouses. They are a powerhouse in terms of what they bring on the football pitch, but in terms of that marketability, the fan base, that will come, because Manchester United right now are our modern success story. Manchester City, unfortunately, are starting to build their own.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, just before we move on to that's enough Ronaldo discussion, because I'm sure we'll be having this debate in a week's time when I know he extends a contract to Juventus or he does go somewhere else. Just some comments here. Ryan, obviously a Manchester lad as well. George Alfieres, is there a chance we sign Ronaldo on a free if he sees out his contract with Juventus and we don't get Haaland? We've had this debate since Ronaldo left, since probably like 2013. We'll say next year's the one. If we can get him 1 year, it'll be next year. We can get him. So we'll be having that debate when he's 45, which is probably next year. I don't know how old Ronaldo is now. What is he, late 30s, 37 something? Andy Palmer, we won't get Haaland. No way we're paying his agent fees plus commission and wages. Well, if someone does pay an agent fee and commission, it is Man United. They have sort of been guilty of that in the past. And last one from Moyes, City will probably sign Ronaldo, not for football reasons, but purely for a bigger club reasons. So, look, time will tell. Hopefully we have an answer in our favour in the coming days. Look, it's a long shot that he does go to Manchester City. Both of us highly doubt that it will happen. But time will tell, as I say. So if you are enjoying the video, please do leave a like on the video and make sure you subscribe. Thanks for everyone in the chat. A lot of comments coming in, which is good to get some different opinions. But something we will need different opinions on is the midfield debate, because just before we went live, even this morning our time, but there's been another little update in the last 5 minutes regarding Saúl Ñíguez. Now, we haven't discussed him too much because his name hasn't really been linked with Man United. However, he's a player that both Larry and I do admire a lot in terms of his football and ability. He's a fantastic footballer. What his ideal position is in terms of a Man United setup, that's up for debate. People who have watched him more than us could have a better opinion of that. But the latest news, I think it's from The Athletic, have come out. I think even Fabrizio Romano touched on it as well. That is along the lines of he's looking to get out of Atletico Madrid. But the talk at the moment, both United are interested, but both Chelsea are interested as well, is in regards to getting a loan deal first. So loaning for a season, then with whether it be an option or an obligation to buy at the end of the season. So just your thoughts on the latest Saúl Ñíguez updates?
Yeah, I don't know. The interesting thing is Fabrizio Romano was talking about Saúl being linked with Chelsea for a few days now. And only yesterday, last night, our time, early morning, Europe time, he did mention that United have made contact with Atletico Madrid. And I'm just starting to wonder now, is it being held up because Saúl actually, maybe he's turning his head thinking, actually, I want to go to Manchester United. Let's think about it from the player's perspective, okay? Chelsea are really stacked in that midfield position. When I talk about midfield, I'm talking attacking options, defensive options, because midfields are fairly fluid nowadays. I think the only defensive midfielder they have is Kante. Everyone else is quite fluid. If you're looking at it from that perspective, you've got Kovacic, you've got Kante, you've got I'm having a mind blank now. Started on the weekend. Jorginho, that's the one. Like you're well stacked, and all of those players walk into any Premier League side. And then in front of those, you've got the likes of you've got Kai Havertz, you've got Mason Mount. They're so stocked. So I'm just wondering, if you're Saúl Ñíguez, wouldn't you rather come into a side where you're guaranteed to play every week? I think that's ultimately. Chelsea are building the ultimate squad, undoubtedly, but I think if you're Saúl Ñíguez, maybe going to Manchester United is more attractive. You're a shoo-in, you're going to play most games of the season, guaranteed to be in the starting strongest 11. I think that's a no-brainer if United are willing to get it done. Let me just say, though, if United are not actually in the race for him, it's truthfully unacceptable. I mean, Chelsea are very close to signing Jules Koundé as well. What's going on? Like, that is a club with serious ambition. And look, it's great to say, yeah, we signed Sancho, Varane, wonderful. But we have to look at what our rivals are doing. Manchester City just forked out 100 million on Jack Grealish. Chelsea have already belted out a fortune for Romelu Lukaku. And now they're going to look into bring in Saúl Ñíguez and Jules Koundé, both world-class players. Like, United need to make a statement at some point. Show your ambition. Put up the money. It's 45 million euro. Sign the bloke. If he's available, look, if he wants to go to Chelsea, fair play. But United need to be in the discussion. If they're not in the discussion, then that's just not good enough.
Look, I'm sure United are in the discussion. Look, fingers crossed, we'll need the Amazon documentary at the end of the season to find out. But I'm sure they're in there, especially if it's a cheap loan deal. I'm sure United will be all over that. But in terms of, you talk about, in terms of Saúl Ñíguez, his point of view of going to play football, going to play in the Premier League, just throw this comment up here from George. Is the treatment of Van der Beek a turn-off for other midfielders wanting to sign? Because I say that, and look, I love Solskjaer, but this is the one stick I have to beat him with in terms of, we joke about it, but we can almost not joke about it now. If we did sign Saúl Ñíguez, is there any guarantee that he'd play? And I know that at the moment, the Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho, sort of the frustration around that, it's all sort of, it's very overreactionary. Obviously, they're going to play games at the moment. They're going to play games when they're fit. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there, but we have the evidence with Donny van der Beek. So if Saúl Ñíguez isn't the first choice, obviously Sancho and Varane were far more first choice, obviously different positions. Then it's Saúl Ñíguez. If Saúl Ñíguez does come in on the deadline day, that might give you the inclination that he wasn't Solskjaer's first choice. Would he get the same Van der Beek treatment, or is that a little bit lazy?
No, I think that is lazy. I think what we need to take into context with Van der Beek, and I'm a massive fan. Technically, I think he's a very sound footballer. But there has to be an acknowledgement. Physically, he wasn't quite up to the Premier League. I think we saw that. Like, there were times last season where he just drifted out of games. Not go hiding. I think that would be too harsh of an assessment. But he just didn't look comfortable getting onto, like, when he was on the ball, of course, it was great. But he just didn't get the time right. And he got physically dominated. Just really didn't get his chance to really assert himself. His best performances last season came in Europe. And I think there's a reason for that. That's the style of football he's used to. He's obviously bulked up. Let's wait and see. We're 2 games in, and while the Southampton game was so obvious, calling out for a player of Van de Beek's ability, I think we just need to calm it down a little bit. Now, look, if we get to 2 months' time, if Van de Beek's not made a start for United in the Premier League, I'll beat Solskjaer. I'll be the first one to beat him with a stick. But I think let's just hold off. And I think Saúl Ñíguez is a different kettle of fish, different caliber of player, and he's exactly what United need. And most importantly, with all due respect to Van de Beek, he looks like someone who is going to be nice, going to give you a cuddle. Saúl Ñíguez is going to be kicking your ankles in. It's exact the sort of player we need.
Is Saúl Ñíguez more? I think he's hard. I think that in terms of the way you watch him play, technically, even physically, he's sort of similar build, maybe a little bit shorter, but it's very similar to the way Nemanja Matic plays in terms of his technique, the way he controls the ball, the way he moves the ball. However, he does have obviously a far more attacking element to his game. Am I right in putting him in the same discussion as Ruben Neves, where you look at the football and you think, yes, he walks into our midfield in regards to ability. But in terms of what we need, if we do want to sort of pursue to a 4-3-3 and just have one player there, is he really a defensive midfielder? While he definitely has the attributes, as I said, I can make the case for Donny van de Beek having the attributes there, Nemanja Matic having the attributes. I'm just thinking, if we sign him, are we limiting his game by sitting him that deep? Because he does have the attributes, but he's so good going forward because he's such a good footballer.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think signing Saúl Ñíguez means you have to play a 4-3-3. I think it means you can play a 2-more pivot, but it can be more fluid. I think there'd be an opportunity to, because he's got the work rate and he's got the defensive aspect to his game as well. For example, if you had Saúl Ñíguez and Scott McTominay in a pivot, you don't need to tell those 2 players you must sit the whole game. You've got a caliber of player where if McTominay goes forward, one can tuck, and if another goes forward, they can tuck. But I think it also allows for that fluidity of if you play a 3-man midfield, if Saúl Ñíguez goes up for a run because he's got the capability to do that, Pogba can tuck in just on that run. It can be a fluid system. And I think we also have to remember, look what Michael Carrick did. When he came into United, particularly in Europe, he's the one who evolved United to allow them to play that 3-man midfield. But Carrick had the ability to get forward. And I think that's just an aspect of his game that a lot of United fans have forgotten about. Carrick was good for a belting shot from deep, but he chose to play that deeper role. And I think midfielders nowadays, the game's changed. I think it's more fluid. I don't think you need that Kante style number 6 destroyer. I think you can have a ball player who can be box to box. Just depends on the system and how you want to deploy it, really.
Well, I think while I'm sort of an advocate for United to progress and sort of evolve into a 4-3-3, I think if Solskjaer does want to stick to 4-2-3-1, which the evidence suggests he might, he is that type of player who is ideal for that situation where you can have someone sitting next to him, whether he's the deeper one or whether he goes. I think he is suited to having someone next to him. Not that I watch Atletico Madrid weekly, but I assume from what I have seen in the Champions League, they do have 2 screeners where he is one for Atletico Madrid. So time will tell. As I said, look, he could be on loan to Chelsea, he could be on a loan to United, or he could very well stay at the Atletico Madrid. But United obviously have made contact with Atletico Madrid, I should say, this season because they obviously Kieran Trippier interest. So, look, I'm sure United are in and around the discussion. Time will tell if they make it anything eventuate. But just some comments here before we wrap up, Larry. So, Ryan, Declan Rice would be ideal, but there's no way we should pay 100 million English tax. Must find alternatives. Saúl Ñíguez and Ndidi fits this perfectly.
Ndidi, that's a good shout. I would take Ndidi in a heartbeat. He's a baller. He'd be so good for United.
Yeah, no, there hasn't been much talk about him. Even other clubs as well haven't really been linked with him. So it'll be interesting to see Leicester's situation. But Mike, 2 of my favourite things in life, Man United and the Rolling Stones, RIP to Charlie Watts. Very sad news. The drummer for Rolling Stones passed away, so rest in peace. Moyes here saying Neves is a better option, will cost us more than Sol, and hence not many rumours around him. Look, at the moment,
I think it'd be cheaper.
The big thing for me at the moment is the word he uses there, rumours. There's nothing real concrete on anything at the moment. They're just names because they're players at, look, Athletic are a big club, but players at a lesser club who maybe could take that step up. And where do you want to make a step up to? Man United. So it'll be interesting if anything more concrete comes out in the coming days, which I'm sure it will, whether it be positive or negative. We will get something. But
Tom, can I ask you on that actually? But before we come to George's comment there, if you're actually looking at, if United want to play a 4-3-3, if we're truly just looking for a pivot, someone who's just going to sit there as a 6, I'm actually thinking Neves would probably be better than Saúl. I think Saúl's probably a more well-rounded midfielder. But if you're wanting someone just to sit as a 6 with the ability to shoot a ball from deep into that that wonderful ball that Carrick had the ability to do. When I think of a six, that's my ideal six. Like, I love Roy Keane and what he did. And Roy Keane had that ability as well. I definitely did.
You say that in regards to your ideal six. Okay, and yes, the way you want to play football. But if you want to play Ruben Neves as your six, I assume you're wanting Bruno and Pogba in the same team. So with those two attacking outlets, is that the type of number six you want in a game where you have Scholes and someone else next to Carrick and you're going to dominate possession and you've got Ronaldo on the wing, you've got Rooney, and you're going to dominate the game? You can have that number six who can play football. But if we've got such attacking players who, let's be honest, give the ball away so much, and that's not too much for criticism, that's the way they play, is that the number six you want? Or do you want, as you mentioned, Ndidi, someone who's more combative and more defensive-minded than someone... Because is Ruben Neves really going to sit there, or is he going to sense a goal and bomb forward to try and put it in the top corner?
I think I'm keen to see what you think on this. When I think of the perfect six, and this is probably where there's a divide in the United fan base, I would actually like a player like a Carrick who had the ability to, from the halfway line, be able to ping a ball into Wayne Rooney in the midst of a block of traffic. He knew how to find his feet. He just and that's just a God-given talent, right? That not many players have the ability of playing that pass to. And I just think that if you get Ndidi there, while he's the shield, like United's issue is it's not conceding goals. It's actually with the ball in those low blocks, having a player with the ability to just ping that ball through, just break it up a little bit. And I just think Neves probably complements that a little bit more. And because I think, particularly with Varane coming in, there's enough defensive cover there. If United are going to dominate the ball, you need a player who's got that ball playing ability. Maybe Ndidi's not the perfect fit for that because Ndidi doesn't have that ball playing ability. It's more about his work rate and his ability to sniff out an interception.
Yeah, no, look, it depends in terms of the way we want to see football, the way we've grown up watching football, what Solskjaer needs, what the team needs. I don't think any opinion's wrong, whether it be that more defensive-minded or a playmaker, which is sort of almost your attacking type of defensive midfielder, is interesting. But we'll just some comments before we wrap up. The one we come to from George saying Ollie is too stuck on this whole double pivot formation. He has to try something else that enables these players to play. Donny, Ñíguez and Bruno in our midfield. Ollie doesn't like Pogba. Well, Pogba's, again, we don't really talk about him at the moment, but he's that central midfielder who is now our current left winger. So time will tell and how we use him. Just a few more comments here. Another George. If we go for Ndidi, Leicester will milk 70 million out of us since running no pressure to sell, which, yeah, we have been in there with Harry Maguire, who cost 80. James Maddison was linked for around 70 million to Arsenal. So I assume, yeah, Ndidi would be in that price bracket. And the longer the transfer window goes on, 70 million on Friday, that turns to 75 million. Over the weekend, that's on to 80 million. So Ndidi, yeah, a very long shot at the moment. Just one more comment here from Moyes. Neves gives us something that we haven't had in a long time, switching sides by long passes with Sancho and Rashford on the wings. You need someone to switch the play, which is something I think Pogba does really well. However, you just mentioned that point in terms of Pogba. He plays on the left-hand side, so he's only switching it to one side of the field. And one here from Andy saying, correct, George, Leicester cashed up with great owners. Leicester are a very well-run club. You can see even if they sort of slip down a little bit, you can see something. You can see a reason why they have done that. And they're always sort of well prepared to take that next step forward. So, and look about Brendan Rodgers. Look, he gets bantered a lot. I remember, what was that Brendan Rodgers account? I forget what it was on Twitter. It was a massive Brendan Rodgers account, a meme account. But I'm a fan of Brendan Rodgers. I think he's a good manager, and I think he's definitely in the discussion. It's obviously a podcast for another day. If Solskjaer was to leave at some stage, I think Brendan Rodgers, as a United fan, is someone who should be in the discussion.
You know what? As much as I'd love seeing Ollie win the league, can you imagine the tears in Liverpool fans' eyes if Brendan Rodgers becomes United manager and wins the league?
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're not having this debate for a while, but who knows? We very well. There it is. Moyes remind me, Deluded Brendan. If anyone goes on to Twitter, find Deluded Brendan account. It's fantastic from his time at Liverpool. But hopefully everyone enjoyed that podcast. Something, again, hopefully none of that really eventuates in regards to the Ronaldo discussion. But yeah, it was good to chat about Ronaldo. Just fingers crossed it doesn't happen, Larry.
It won't. I think I'm fairly confident in that. If Ronaldo goes to Manchester City, I'll shave my head.
You can join the club. Oh, I can't make that promise, though, so I can shave it again. You can come over when lockdown's over, when you can leave your 5-kilometre lockdown radius, whatever it is, LGA. I got my COVID jab today, but my internet went down to 3G. I thought it was supposed to go up to 5G.
Yeah, I told you. No, it's 2G for your arm, and the remaining Gs stay on your phone. So that's the go there.
No, we'll see. We'll see if anything changes after the second dose in a couple of weeks' time. But hopefully everyone did enjoy that. Please like the video if you haven't. I really appreciate everyone in the comments today. It's been really good. A lot of opinions, and I think tomorrow is the Champions League draw. Should we do something around the Champions League draw?
Depends who we get. Yeah, look, I've got nowhere to be, Tom, so always ready for a video. You know that.
No, definitely. Well, that's the thing. We're not taking the piss, but yeah, we have nothing better to do. Especially me. I'm sitting at home. I'm off work at the moment, unfortunately. So nothing better to do. Rob just said there Friday, we'll maybe put the Champions League draw into the Wolves preview on Friday night, maybe. But again, hopefully everyone did enjoy that video. Please leave a like on the video. And also, reminder, you can see the banner scrolling across the bottom. If you are in New South Wales or Sydney and you're not part of the Man United Supporters Club, all the links are in the description below. And now remember, the grand prize of signing up for the Supporters Club is lining up in left midfield ahead of our left back, Larry Taylor.
Yeah, and what an honour that is. I've got to say, Tom, I think I've evolved my game. I'd like to say I'm an attacking option now. I can contribute with a few assists and goals, but, we'll have to wait and see. I don't even know when we'll be allowed to go to the park down the road, let alone on a football pitch with 10 other people.
Yeah, no, true. But again, hopefully everyone has a good day. Enjoy your evening, and we'll chat to you sometime tomorrow, hopefully with Ronaldo returning home to Manchester United news.
All right, cheers.